Hi guys, welcome back for our read aloud. Excuse me today. So we started the last chapter, Summer Holiday, where we found out Grandmama ended up having pneumonia and they couldn't take the big trip to Norway. So they booked a room or rooms in the Hotel Magnificent, not far from where they live. They got there, but before they went, Grandma had given our character two white mice and he was trying to train them. They were William and Mary, and they got caught by the hotel chambermaid. And so now he's supposed to keep them in a cage in his room. And that's kind of where we had left off. So let's pick up there about training the mice. He said, I can't train them in the cage. So here's what he says. I decided to seek a safer place where I could carry on with the training. There must surely be an empty room in this enormous hotel. I put one mouse into each trouser pocket and wandered downstairs in search of a secret spot. The ground floor of the hotel was a maze of public rooms, all of them named in gold letters on the door. I wandered through the lounge, the smoking room, the dining room, the card room, the reading room, and the drawing room. None of them was empty. I went down a long, wide corridor. Remember, corridor means hallway. And at the end of it, I came to the ballroom. There were double doors leading into, and in front of the doors was a large notice board on a stand. The notice on the board said, RSPCC meeting, strictly private. This room is reserved for the annual meeting of the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. There's what the sign looks like. The double doors into the room were open. I peeked in. It was a colossal room. There were rows and rows of chairs, all facing a platform. The chairs were painted gold, and they had little red cushions on the seats. But there was not a soul in sight. Here he is. There's these big doors, and there's our character. Here's the sign. He's going to go in. I sidled cautiously into the room. That means kind of tiptoeing in. What a lovely, secret, silent place it was. The meeting of the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children must have taken place earlier in the day, and now they had all gone home. Even if they hadn't, even if they did suddenly come pouring in, they would be the most wonderful kind people who would look with favor upon a young mouse trainer going about his business. At the back of the room, there was a large folding screen with Chinese dragons painted on it. I decided, just to be on the safe side, that I would go behind the screen and do my training there. I wasn't a bit frightened of the prevention of cruelty to children people, but there was always a chance that Mr. Stringer, the manager, might pop his head around the door. If he did, and if he saw the mice, the poor things would be drowned in the hall porter's bucket of water before I could shout, stop. I tiptoed to the back of the room and settled myself on the thick green carpet behind the big screen. What a splendid place this was, ideal for mouse training. I took William and Mary out of my trouser pockets. They sat beside me on the carpet, quiet and very well behaved. The trick I was going to teach them today was to tightrope walk. It's not all that difficult to train an intelligent mouse to be an expert tightrope walker, provided you know exactly how to do it. First, you must have a piece of string. I had that. Then you must have some good cake. A fine currant cake is the favorite food of white mice. They are just dotty all about it. I had brought with me a rock cake, which I had pocketed while having tea with Grandmama the day before. Now, here's what you do. You stretch the string tight between your two hands, but you start by keeping it very short, only about 3 inches. So pulling it like this far. You put the mouse on your right hand and a little piece of cake on your left hand. The mouse is therefore only 3 inches away from the cake. He can see it and he can smell it. His whiskers twitch with excitement. He can almost reach the cake by leaning forward, but not quite. He only has to take 2 steps along the string to reach this tasty morsel. He ventures forward, one paw on the string, then the other. If the mouse has a good sense of balance, and most of them have, he will get across easily. I started with William. He walked the string without a moment's hesitation. I let him have a quick nibble of the cake just to whet his appetite. Then I put him back on my right hand. This time, I lengthened the string. I made it about 6 inches long. William knew what to do now. With superb balance, he walked step by step along the string until he reached the cake. He was rewarded with another nibble. Quite soon, William was walking a 24-inch tightrope, or rather tight string, from one hand to the other to reach the cake. It was wonderful to watch him. He was enjoying himself tremendously. I was careful to hold the string near the carpet so that if he did lose his balance, he wouldn't have far to fall. But he never fell. William was obviously a natural acrobat, a great tightrope walking mouse. There. Now it was Mary's turn. I put William on the carpet beside me and rewarded him with some extra crumbs and a currant. A currant is kind of like a cranberry-ish. Then I started going through the same routine all over again with Mary. My blinding ambition, you see, my dream of all dreams, was to become one day the owner of a white mouse circus. I would have a small stage with red curtains in front of it. And when the curtains were drawn apart, the audience would see my world-famous mice performing, walking on tightropes, swinging from trapeze, turning somersaults in the air, bouncing on trampolines, and all the rest of it. I would have white mice riding on white rats, and the rats would gallop furiously around and around the stage. I was beginning to picture myself traveling first class all over the globe with my famous white mouse circus, and performing before all the crowned heads of Europe. I was about halfway through Mary's training when suddenly I heard voices outside the ballroom door. The sound grew louder. It swelled into a great babble of speech from many throats. I recognized the voice of the awful hotel manager, Mr. Stringer. Help, I thought, but thank heavens for the huge screen. I crouched behind it and peered through the crack between 2 of the folding sections. I could see the entire length and width of the ballroom without anyone seeing me. Well, ladies, I'm sure you will be quite comfortable in here, Mr. Stringer's voice was saying. Then in through the double doors he marched, black tall coat and all, spreading his arms wide as he ushered in a great flock of ladies. If there is anything that we can do for you, do not hesitate to let me know, he went on. Tea will be served for all of you on the Sunshine Terrace after you have concluded your meeting. With that, he bowed and scrubbed himself out of the room as a vast herd of ladies from the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children came streaming in. They wore pretty clothes and all of them had hats on their heads. And that is the end of our chapter. The next chapter is called The Meeting. I will see you later to find out what happens.